What is up, everyone? It's your girl Tabs here with Keeping Tabs, and welcome back to the YouTube. Welcome back to the podcast. It is episode 12. This episode, we're going to recap Monday Night Raw, NXT, and Friday Night Smackdown. And obviously, I wouldn't be remiss to mention my Florida Gators getting a massive dub over the Texas Longhorns yesterday. Big SSC win for us. Super happy. Overall, thoughts real quick. Billy Napier, better play calling, still had some bad moments. Still a little iffy about him, but DJ Lagway, way to put your big boy pants on, freaking slinging that ball around like nobody's business. We have an incredible freshman duo set of receivers. We got some awesome running backs, man. Our defense is solid as hell, so got some good momentum going forward. Big time win, like I said, so hopefully we can continue that on. Let's go ahead and jump on into the episode. Monday Night Raw has completely shifted their focus onto Crown Jewel, as they should, as it is this coming weekend. We are less than 7 days away from Crown Jewel in Perth. Kicking off Monday Night Raw this week was Rhea Bloody Ripley. Obviously, she's had continued tensions with Asuka. And then last week, Asuka and Kairi Sane finally turning on Io Sky. Now we're going to be getting that big time matchup of Io Sky teaming with Rhea Ripley versus Kairi Sane and Asuka at Crown Jewel Perth. This is a huge tag team matchup, and I'm very interested to see if the team of Io and Rhea are going to continue on past Crown Jewel. Are they going to go after Alexa and Charlotte potentially? It seems like that is a, pretty big chance that happens because of the way they're kind of bulking and building up the women's tag division. But in this interaction on Monday Night Raw, what really pushed Io over the edge is that Asuka misted her in the face. You know Asuka, when she hits you with that mist, that blue poison mist is what they call it. It's really done with Io. So that's really what pushed her over the edge, leading to ask for the match, actually. She was the one that asked for the match. And obviously we knew Rhea was somehow going to get put onto this PLE as it's in her home country, Australia. Again, I'm excited for this and moving forward, interested to see how, it's going to play out. Dominic Mysterio defended his Intercontinental Championship this past Monday Night Raw against Rusev. Double champ Dom, he's got the AAA Mega Campeon Intercontinental Champ on the other shoulder. Not needing any help from the Judgment Day, even though he's still using his cheating, lying tactics. Defeating Rusev cleanly. I was a little surprised, low-key, but, they're riding high with Dom. I call him a babyface. He gets some of the biggest pops of anybody on the roster now. But Dom is also busy in AAA, so I really want him to start defending the IC title more often. I know they give him random matches here and there, but I kind of want somebody to take it away from him so he can focus on AAA more. Moving on, we had Bayley versus Raquel Rodriguez in a one-on-one match. Last week, Bayley had defeated Roxanne, so looking to defeat the other Judgment Day member. But Raquel was the one that got the dub this week. There's still this weird storyline between Bayley, Lyra coming out to help her. It's all kind of weird with Bayley's multi-personality characters that she got on, but I'm still very interested to see how this is going to play out. We had a random matchup of LA Knight, and Kofi Kingston. Ever since LA Knight has moved over to Monday Night Raw, he still had some big matches, but it's now that Seth is kind of busy with the whole Cody stuff going into Crown Jewel, they're kind of just all right, here LA, random match here. That's kind of like what they did with Penta for a while, Penta just having random feuds with the New Day was you know what I'm saying? I felt like a waste of his time. I think they're just waiting for Seth to get done with the Cody stuff before LA Knight gets that one-on-one matchup with Seth Rollins for the world title. We also had AJ Styles teaming up with Dragon Lee to defeat the Los Americanos, which is El Grande Americano's two little buddies, which is Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Also had a segment with Becky backstage where she attacked Tozawa and Maxine Dupree. Interested to see if AJ Lee's going to be coming back soon enough to set up that matchup for the women's IC title. Later in the show, Cody Rhodes was there because of his feud with Seth Rollins going to Crown Jewel, obviously champion versus champion. So they had a little face-off, a little verbal back and forth in the middle of the ring. And honestly, Seth was being a little dramatic, and that's what Cody came out to say to him, and is like, you're being a little dramatic, you're overreacting, this isn't about the whole industry for the next 20, 30 years, and he basically said to Seth, like, hey, the fans are the ones that decide this, not us. Doesn't matter who wins this, it's all about what the fans want, you know what I'm saying, which is basically what pro wrestling is all about. Fans have a lot of control, you know? And in the main event, it was the Usos taking on the Brawns once again. This time, it was a tornado tag match, so basically anything goes. And it looked like the Brawns were going to get the win once again, but the returning OTC Roman Reigns put the ones up, coming out to help Jay and Jimmy, helping them get the dub eventually. Roman and Jay had this weird interaction in the middle of the ring after the match. It was a little weird. It felt like Jay and Roman are, starting to be closer than Jay and Jimmy for some reason. I don't know. It was a little weird to me, a little sus. I don't know if Jay is still trying to be like tribal chief level or something. So interested to see how this is going to play out. Also interested to see if we're actually going to get a match with Roman at Crown Jewel, because they haven't announced anything for him yet. And obviously, if they try to do a 6-man tag match with Roman, Jay, and Jimmy, they would need somebody else with the Brawns, So are they going to add another person? Because obviously Seth is busy. So still a little confusing, a little interesting to see how this is going to play out. But I'm very happy that Roman Reigns is back. It's always better when Roman is around. Alrighty, moving on to NXT. NXT had No Mercy last week, in which we recapped on last week's episode. So if you missed that, go check that out. But obviously, this Tuesday's episode, we saw a lot of that fallout from NXT No Mercy. This week's episode, Ricky Saints, the new NXT champ, starting the episode off. And then JC Jane interrupting him. So both the women's and men's NXT champs were out in the ring when Ava, who is the general manager of NXT, comes out and says, hey, by the way, you two are going to be my captains for NXT versus TNA Showdown, which is this coming up week's NXT episode. It was originally supposed to be called Invasion, but there was some controversy online apparently, so they switched it to Showdown. I don't know. I'm indifferent. It doesn't matter what the name is. I'm just interested in what's happening in the episode. So having Ricky Saints and JC Jane, the captains for both teams, they're tasked with finding teammates for the end of the episode where they have the little showdown, a little face-to-face with the NXT, or the TNA team, which the TNA team was captained by Mike Santana and the new women's knockouts champion, Kalani Jordan, who is obviously an NXT superstar. So those are the two captains for TNA, even though Trick Williams could have been the other captain, technically, because he's the world champ there, but Santino Marello doesn't trust Tricky Williams, is what he said. So at the end of the episode, though, that's when we'll get the reveal, so we'll continue on before we get to the reveal of the teams. We get some backstage locker room scenes of Ricky Saints trying to decide who's going to be on his team. We had Trick Williams come in and kind of insert himself, and basically he's on the team. Ricky's like, you know what, it's for the best of NXT. We need the best people on the team, so Trick Williams automatically is on the team with him. They're co-captains, apparently? Not really. To help decide some of their spots on the team NXT, though, Josh Briggs and Miles Bourne were going to have a matchup to see and the winner was going to get put onto Team NXT. Mini Randy Orton, aka Miles Bourne, got the dub over Josh Briggs, so he is officially on Team NXT. Same thing with the women. They had some matches to see who was going to be on Team NXT, as Lola Vice defeated Fallon Henley. So JC Jane had to pick Lola Vice to be on the team over her own Fatal Influence member. Speaking of JC Jane and Fallon Henley, we found out who attacked Jasmine Nix last week. It was Lainey Reed. She was the one that took out Jasmine Nix. Also, she was the one that helped JC retain against Lola Vice at No Mercy. She was the one in the black hoodie, black face mask, all that stuff that kneed Lola in the face, threw her back in the ring. Also, Jada Parker defeated the Last Legend, so she is also on Team NXT. Later in the episode, we had Mustafa Ali, who is a former NXT superstar, now TNA superstar, come out interrupting Ethan Page, basically challenging him to an NXT North American Championship matchup the following week when TNA and NXT have their showdown. Getting more matches built up for TNA versus NXT Showdown, which I'm definitely interested. I wish this was a proper PLE, but this NXT episode is going to be a banger. Alrighty, so for the men's NXT team for the Showdown, we have Ricky Saints again, Trick Williams, Miles Bourne won his matchup, and then they also have the young OG Javon Evans, so that's going to make it a 4v4, obviously. And on TNA's side, we have Captain Mike Santana once again, Frankie Kazarian, who is like an OG TNA guy. He's freaking amazing. They have Moose, who's a former TNA world champ, and then Leon Slater, who is the current X Division champ of TNA. He's like a young OG. Him and Javon, they're going to put on a banger when they have them. So that's the men's 4-on-4. It's going to be like an elimination format. It seems like Survivor Series style. And then on the women's side of things, again, JC Jane is the captain for Team NXT, Jada Parker, Lola Vice, and then the only double champ left, Miss Sol Ruka. She's the women's speed champ, women's North American champ. So that's the 4 for NXT versus the TNA 4 of Captain Kalani Jordan, the Inspiration, which is Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay. And then we have Mara Shade, who is a former NXT superstar as well. So that's the 4 for TNA, the 4-on-4 for the women. 2 other matches that are set up for TNA versus NXT Showdown is the title tag team matchup of the Hardy Boys, who are the TNA World Tag Team Champions, versus Dark State, who are the NXT Tag Champs. Winner takes all there, so I really hope the Hardy Boys win. Oh, that would be incredible for the Hardy Boys to win. That would be another, thing off their list. And then, like I said, Mustafa Ali challenged Ethan Page for the NXT North American Championship, so that will be taking place next week as well. Now, really, what I'm interested after this whole thing is to see what happens with JC Jane and Ricky Saints. Who are their next opponents going to be? What are they going to be setting up? Obviously, it's October. We know we'll get Halloween Havoc this month, so that will probably be the big PLE or episode going forward. So, interested to see what they're going to build up. I feel like maybe something here happens at Showdown that builds up to something, within NXT and TNA itself. Now, we do know Mike Santana is going to be facing off against Trick Williams at Bound for Glory for the TNA World Championship. So, is Mike Santana going to bring that World Championship back to TNA? We're going to have to wait and see. But for Glory is shaping up to be an awesome show as well. So, make sure you guys are tuning in to TNA and checking that out. Alrighty, moving over to Friday Night Smackdown. Kicking off SmackDown was Cody Rhodes, the WWE Champion, obviously getting interrupted by Paul Heyman. He's there on behalf of Seth Rollins, obviously. And that led to the Brawns coming out. But, of course, Randy Orton coming out into the ring. They already have a tag team matchup set up for the main event later in the episode. The interesting thing here was Paul Heyman trying to, set seeds of doubt into both of their minds of, Randy, he's not your real friend or whatever, blah, blah, blah. He Paul Heyman, he's a slick talker trying to get in their head saying, Randy needs to turn on him, blah, 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 whatever. And they acknowledge that later in a backstage scene between Randy and Cody. Randy's been staring at that title for quite some time, so I'm very interested to see when that is going to play out. Are we finally going to get Cody versus Randy? Are we going to get somebody turning on the other? Interested to see how it's going to play out, but they do have the main event, which we'll talk about just in a little bit. One of the big things in tonight's episode was the breakup of Mello Don't Miz. Carmelo Hayes is fed up with the Miz's bullshit and him, trying to outshine him, steal his moments, all this stuff. So Carmelo Hayes and him have a backstage moment where he's like, hey man, we're done. It's basically like a breakup. And later in the episode, Carmelo Hayes goes out to accept the Sami Zayn U.S. title challenge opportunity, but The Miz comes out to hit a skull-crushing finale on Carmelo Hayes, so he can't actually compete in the matchup. And that's when we have Aleister Black just walk out as Melo's just laying on the floor, and he's the one that comes out to accept the U.S. title open challenge. Which Aleister Black versus Sami Zayn was another good matchup. Sami Zayn's U.S. title open challenge run has been absolutely incredible. He's feeding us awesome matches, giving opportunities to everyone. I love it, I love it, I love it. But during the matchup, we had Damian Priest coming out to distract Aleister Black. That's when Sammy hit a haluva kick and then into a blue thunder bomb, getting the win. Damian Priest then would pull Aleister Black out of the ring and absolutely destroying him. He would eventually get Aleister up and hit him with the Razor's Edge through the announce table and then challenge him to a last man standing match that will be next week on Friday Night Smackdown when they're going to be in Perth, Australia. Which I really wish this match was on Crown Jewel because we still only have 4 matches right now and I feel like they're only going to give us 5 now. We had some NXT stars show up on Friday Night Smackdown once again. On the women's side of thing, we had Sol Ruca and Zarya. They are looking to get an opportunity at the women's tag team titles of Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. As they were talking to Nick Aldis, you had the Secret Harvest of Alba Fire and Chelsea Green come and interrupt them. So that set up a tag team matchup between those 2 teams, which of course Sol Ruca and Zarya won. So I definitely see them giving them a tag team matchup, maybe even at Crown Jewel because Zarya is Australian and that would be really cool to have her on, a PLE there. NXT talent Javon Evans, the young OG, he's a busy man lately. He showed up on SmackDown teaming up with Rey Fenix. They defeated Los Garza, and Javon is just absolutely incredible. I think this is his 2nd matchup on SmackDown now. The dude is just insane. He's going to be a future world champ, man. He's insane. We also had the contract signing between the Women's World Champ Stephanie Vaquer, the WWE Women's Champ Tiffany Stratton. Those 2 obviously going at one-on-one at Crown Jewel, champion versus champion. After that, though, backstage, we had Kiana James and Julia trying to get in the head of Stephanie, saying that she needed her, all this stuff, because Kiana is making Julia one of the biggest stars in all of the women's division, blah, 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 whatever, even though the U.S. title barely gets shown. She barely defends it. But obviously, Julia and Stephanie have a little bit of history, so interested to see them have some interactions backstage on SmackDown. And then, of course, the main event was Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes versus the Braun Brawns. I didn't think Seth Rollins was going to be getting involved at all, as he didn't seem like he was going to be on SmackDown, but he did come out in the main event, stomping Randy when the ref was distracted by Paul Heyman, leading for them to get the win. Bronson Reed getting the tsunami on Orton to pin him as well, so that's a big pin for him on Randy Orton. I saw somebody say they have a theory of Randy Orton joining the division, but I don't see that happening. After the match, you see Rollins, he was trying to fight the feeling of wanting to go and attack Cody, and Paul Heyman was trying to stop him. But eventually Seth ran into the ring finally, trying to stomp Cody like he did Randy, but Cody got out of the way and hit him with a crossroads. So very interested to see, what last few interactions we have between Cody and Seth before their match at Crown Jewel. Also interested to see the interactions and interference Randy might potentially have in this matchup next week. So another pretty decent week in WWE as they are leading up to Crown Jewel in Perth, Australia. That's going to be a pretty decent PLE. I'm just interested to see. We only have 4 matches as of now, so they need to add something here. Before we get out of this episode, though, I do want to mention, once again, go freaking Gators. Also, if you are a Taylor Swift fan, how are we feeling? The Life of a Showgirl. I don't care what y'all are saying. I love this. It's an absolute no-skip album, top to bottom. Banger, banger, banger. I love it. I love it. I don't care what anyone says. Canceled, truly romantic, or actually romantic. Those songs are my top 2 right now, and the top 5 is interchangeable right now because every time I re-listen to one, I'm like, oh, I love it more. So make sure you go check that out. Thank you so much for joining in on another episode of the podcast. Make sure you guys are going to follow me on my other social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and X. My daily videos always get posted on TikTok, so really go follow me there. That's where you'll get daily content from myself. But again, thank you so much for joining in, and don't forget to be keeping tabs.